Councillor Mantle, you always get special treatment. Okay. I'd like to welcome everyone, members, officers, and particularly the members of the public, to this meeting of the Planning Control Committee. Before the meeting starts, I'd like to invite the committee member and scrutiny officer to explain how proceedings will work. Amy.
If a member wishes to speak, they should use the speak button located on their microphone unit. The microphone will light up green and the chair will be alerted to their request to speak. When the chair invites you to speak, the microphone will be made live, at which point it will turn red and you can speak. When the public participants are invited to speak, their microphones will be made live by the committee officer. Their microphones will go red and they can start speaking. When requested to vote, voting will be via the yes, no, abstain buttons on your microphone unit. Details of how members voted will be shown on the screens around the room, and the result will be visible on the YouTube live stream. In the event of a tied vote, the chair will have the casting vote. Are there any questions before we start the meeting? No, then I'll hand back to the chair.
Thanks, Amy. Item 1, apologies for absence. I've received apologies from Councillors David Winstanley and Bryony May. Having given due notice, Councillor Mick Debenham will substitute for Councillor Winstanley and Councillor John Claydon will substitute for Councillor May. Are there any further apologies? I know Councillor Tyson will be joining us later.
Councillor Tyson will be coming late.
Yes. We got that from the minutes, you're fine. Item 2. Minutes of the PCC meeting 21st of August 2025. I would like to propose we take as read and approve as a true record of the minutes of the meeting held on the 21st of August 2025. May I have a seconder? Councillor Mantle, thank you very much. Any comments on the minutes? No? Okay. Then we will vote on accepting the minutes. Obviously, see those in favour of accepting the minutes.
That motion's carried.
Thank you. Item 3, notification of other business. There is no other business. Item 4, chair's announcements. 1, recording. In accordance with council policy, this meeting is being recorded. The recording will be available both on the council's YouTube channel as well as on the council's ModGov site alongside the documents from this meeting. 2, declarations of interest. Members are reminded to make declarations of interest before an item. The detailed reminder about this and speaking rights is set out under the chair's announcements on the agenda. 3, to clarify matters for the registered speakers. Thank you to members of the public for joining us this evening. To confirm, you will have between 3 and 5 minutes, as advised by the committee services team, to make your verbal presentation to the committee, and I'll remind you at the time. All speakers will receive a warning that you have 1 minute remaining, and at the end of your allotted time, you'll be advised very politely that your time has ended. Following the conclusion of your time, members will be invited to ask points of clarification. During the meeting, members of the committee will be invited to ask questions or points of clarification of the planning officer or public speakers. Please note this section is only for members of the committee to ask questions, and unfortunately, members of the public cannot speak at this time. 4, debate procedure. In order to move to a debate on an item, we will require a proposer and a seconder for a motion at the appropriate time in the meeting. This should take into account the information in the officer's report and will follow the officer's presentation and any public presentations, including member advocates, as well as any questions of the officer and points of clarification for the public presenters. As a reminder for members, should you wish to propose a motion contrary to the recommendations included in the officer's report, you'll be required to provide clear and evidence reasons for this proposal. Section 4.8.23a. For the purposes of clarification, in order to vote on an agenda item at this meeting, a member must be present for the entirety of the debate and consideration for that item. If a member leaves the room at any point of the item, they will not be able to vote. 6, meeting cut-off. As outlined under 4.8.24G of the Council's Constitution, if the meeting proceeds to 10:30 p.m, the item being considered at that time will be the final item considered at tonight's meeting. The remaining business will be deferred to the next meeting on Thursday. I think that date is wrong. We'll be deferred to Thursday the 9th of October. 5, public participation. So for item 6, I have Mr. Douglas Bond. Thank you. Mr. Michael Stoddard. Thank you, Michael. Mr. Martin Drake. And Mr. Mike Dandy. Thank you. I don't know what's going on at the door. I need to stop for. Okay, cool. I thought you were waving a hand at me then, Councillor Prescott, or not? No, okay, fine. Right, before we go on to the first item, I've been reminded by my good friend here to remind members to highlight the importance of any declarations of interest. Reasons I think we all know. So item 6, application 24-02758 FP, Guysfield Residential Home, William Road, Letchworth Garden City. May I ask Sam DeCoco to present? Sam.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. I've got some verbal updates in respect to the officer report written by Paul Chaston. So in paragraph 3.9, that paragraph has been included in the report in error to clarify Hertfordshire County Council Growth and Infrastructure would not be seeking any financial contributions towards the scheme. In relation to paragraph 3.16, one neighbour has changed their status of their comments from a neutral comment to an objection since the publishing of the officer report. So in total, there are now 10 objections, 2 submissions in support and 4 neutral comments. Paragraphs 5.18.3 and 5.18.4 regarding the planning balance. This should have stated that moderate weight is attributed in favour of the development in respect to ecological and biodiversity benefits of the proposal. As the recommendation, that paragraph currently has neutral weight. It has no impact on the recommendation. It only adds to the recommendation to approve. And there is a very minor error in the wording of condition 10. The first word, the, has been omitted. So it should say the development hereby permitted. But I'm sure, like me, everyone else read it exactly in the same way. So if I can move on to the slides, please. Thank you very much. So the application seeks planning permission for the erection of a detached 3 to 4 storey 70-bed care home following the demolition of the existing extensions. The original building will be retained within the same planning unit as administration and ancillary space to the care home, but it won't contain any care beds. Next slide, please. So the site lies within the Greenbelt and is within a conservation area. The original building is noted as a building that contributes to the character of the conservation area in our conservation area statement. Next slide, please. So here we have the location plan. Please note the boundary of Letchworth is just to the north. Next slide, please. So this is an aerial image showing the site well contained within landscape boundaries with William Road to the south and a public and permissive footpath to the east. Next slide, please. Just get my notes here. So this is the first photograph. This is taken from the car park area with the original Guysfield house on the left and the adjoining extension to the right. Next slide, please. This is taken from the same spot and shows the current main entrance to the care home with another part of the later extension to the right. Next slide, please. Again, this is taken from the same spot, showing the southern end and later addition of the care home. Next slide, please. So this is taken from the top of the driveway, looking back towards the vehicle entrance to the site with Rillian Road at the bottom. The original Guy's Field house is on the left. Next slide, please. This photo is taken from the back of the site, adjacent with the northern boundary. It shows a row of Leylandii trees to the left, just in screen, which are proposed to be replaced, and the care home building on the right. Next slide, please. So this photo is taken adjacent to the eastern boundary of the site, showing part of the later extension of the care home on the right. Next slide, please. This is taken from the same spot and shows the remainder of the later extension with the southern end at the left. Next slide, please. This photograph is taken from the same spot, looking towards the southeast corner of the site. The tree line on the left follows the line of the eastern boundary of the site. Next slide, please. So this photo is taken from the southern end of the later shows the southern end of the later extension of the care home, looking in a northwesterly direction. Next slide, please. Okay, so we're on to the proposed site layout plan. This shows the proposed footprint of the replacement building and the proposed car parking layout. The dashed red line in the middle of the plan shows the footprint of the existing building that is proposed to be demolished. Next slide, please. Here we have the proposed planting plan. Next slide, please. And this is the proposed tree planting plan. Next slide, please. These are the Guy's Field house plans. So just showing that the use of the Guy's Field house would not be care beds, but it would be ancillary accommodation or ancillary offices. The red areas show the existing extension of the building proposed to be demolished, and it shows a gap between the original building and the proposed replacement building. So the original part of Guy's Field house will become a standalone building again. Next slide, please. So this is a comparative existing and proposed typical bedroom plan. This is aimed to show the improvement in the living conditions of care home occupiers as a result of the development, bringing the bedrooms up to date with care home standards. Next slide, please. So this is the first and second floor plan of the proposed replacement building. Next slide, please. This is the first floor plan and second floor plan. The previous slide was the lower ground and ground floor plan. My apologies. So this is the roof plan, showing the location of the proposed roof lights and solar panels. Next slide, please. So here we have the northwest and southwest elevation of the proposed replacement building, as well as the Guy's Field care home, or Guy's Field house, sorry. Next slide, please. So this is the southeast elevation and northeast elevation. Next slide, please. Here we have comparative northwest elevation and southwest elevation. So this is to show the difference in scale between the building to be demolished and the proposed replacement building on those elevations. Next slide, please. Same comparative elevations from the southeast and the northeast. Thank you. This is the first or set of rendered external perspectives. giving a better impression of how the replacement building would look and sit within the context of the site and the original Guy's Field House. And finally, this is the existing and proposed view from William Road. This aims to show the current view of the care home adjacent to the southeast corner of the site of William Road in winter and summer months. The top two photos have imposed the render external perspectives to give an impression of how the replacement building would look from William Road. Thank you. So just get to my final slide here. The recommendation is to approve, subject to an lead local flood authority response with no objection and the imposition of any conditions that they wish to put on, delegated to the head of development management, as well as an extension in time and the conditions as listed in the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Are there any points of clarification from members for Sam? Ooh, a veritable rush. Councillor Brown.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask about the trees. So in 5.10.4, it talks about 16 trees that would need to be felled to the ground, and 2 of these trees are category B. You didn't show us which ones those were. Is there any chance of seeing which ones they are on the slides?
If we can go back to the proposed plan showing the trees, I'll try and point them out. Alternatively, I do have a plan here if you'd like to see the physical plan, but I don't know if that can be passed around to everyone. It's only one copy. Okay. Oh, sorry. Go to the tree plan. But I've actually just had a look at the tree plan here, and it doesn't actually identify, doesn't show the trees because it's a proposed tree plan. So it might be best if we go to the aerial view of the site from Google satellite images. There we go. So just get my plan out here for the category B trees. So there's a category B cedar tree, which is to the west of the original Guy's Field.
Sam, so could I interrupt you? Could you remind the committee the significance of category B as opposed to other categories?
So for that, if I point out the tree first, and then I can get prepared. So, that tree there is proposed to be removed and is category B. And
you saw that.
So it's actually two trees. So this one here, and there's a smaller one just to the north of it. Those are the 2 category B trees proposed to be removed.
Councillor Brown, do come back.
Yeah, that's very helpful. That really big tall one that was in the photograph, is that being retained? There's a photograph somewhere that you put up.
The one in front is another category B tree here.
That's being retained.
That's being retained. Category B trees, the overall aim and objective is to preserve them where they can be preserved. But if they can't be preserved, mitigation should be in place. In this case, like you said, we're removing 14 trees and 2 groups of trees. The planting plan, I did a quick count up. There's 96 trees to be planted, so adequate mitigation.
Thank you. Councillor Clayton.
Thank you. May I ask 2 questions? Thank you. Firstly, if I can remember them. Firstly, I just wonder if you can clarify overall what the net change in the number of bedrooms will be relative to the current arrangement, including the extension as it currently stands. And if you can clarify, if unless I misunderstood, which I may have done, the extension was built in the 80s, presumably, therefore, as a purpose-built extension with the intention of being being used for this purpose. So, just wondering, what is the change in need now entirely down to updated expectations and requirements for modern equipment and so forth? I just wondering if you can clarify what's changed essentially in terms of how a purpose-built extension would have been built in the 80s and now.
So yes, one of the slides showed the comparative floor plans, and that's comparative bedrooms. So that is how they are looking to upgrade the bedrooms to modern standards. See, the standards for care homes and care home rooms will change over time. 1980s was a long time ago. I know it was my year of birth as well. So, so yeah, it's to do with a change in the requirements and expectations of care home providers and care home occupants, and it was found to be that the space within the existing extension wasn't possible to accommodate changes to the bedroom sizes to accommodate the needs. So the option is to demolish and replace. In respect to the existing number of bedrooms, you have to bear with me. If it's not in the officer report, that means I have to count them. Oh, the applicant's agent is also here, so they may have more immediate access to that information.
Yeah, I'm sure when the applicant's agent speaks, they can. Two questions, or was it? You've done both. You've done both. I'll just. Councillor Ian Mantle. Ian.
Thank you. How many lifts are proposed, and are you confident that the access arrangements to the individual rooms is adequate to take wheelchairs and similar things?
Apologies, I was just looking at the plan. It appears there is one, it's labelled as a hoist stair, but one lift, and the it looks like it goes to a hallway that accesses all rooms. Oh no, there's two. Yes. Apologies, I've just seen it. It's just not coloured the same.
Okay. Is that okay? Thank you. Councillor Val-Bryant.
Thank you. I have 2 questions. My first question follows on from Councillor Brown's question about trees. Could you clarify about the easement strip, which was mentioned in some of the comments, that is outside the Guy's Field property? Is that shown correctly on the plans?
Yes, the applicant updated the plans and has shown the easement strip.
And my second question was, you referred to the area as being green belt, but in the report, in fact, there's lots of talk about it becoming grey belt.
I think I understand the question there. Yes, it doesn't stop it being green belt, so it's still within the green belt. For a development proposal, it's considered grey belt for its individual circumstances and contributions. We haven't yet gone around the entire borough and designated grey belt, So we only consider whether it is or does not qualify as grey belt when we get an application. So it's still green belt. It's allocated as green belt. For the purposes of the development management application, we consider it grey belt based on its individual contributions to certain purposes of the green belt. It doesn't change its allocation status.
Councillor, oh, sorry, you had a second. You're done? Sure. Councillor Claire Billing. Claire.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask about the materials that it's been built out of. The extension that was built in the 80s looks very similar to the building that's remaining, but the new building is very modern.
It is, yes. So, yeah, the original extension does reflect and imitate the original building. This proposed, or one of the proposed advantages here is to not have that. In particular, trying to create separation between the original house and the care home. In doing that, part of the design here is they're using materials that reflect the colour of the materials within the original Guysfield house, but a modern interpretation to make sure that everyone who views the property is very clear where the original Guysfield house is and where the new modern care home is. So it's a modern interpretation with high quality materials, aiming to minimise the bulk and massing required to accommodate the care home, whilst also creating that separation and making sure that Guysfield House is appreciated and not being deflected from with higher scale and massing and reflective building.
Okay. Councillor Louise Peace.
The report mentions at 5.17.6 that this would meet an established need for Class C2 housing, but it would free up Class C3. Could you just explain what the difference between C2 and C3 is for me, please?
Yes, so C3 is residential dwellings and C2 is, I believe they use the term establishment, residential establishment. So there are some lighter care facilities like over 55s housing that doesn't have an element of care that may fall within a residential dwelling. These are not residential dwellings. It's a residential establishment or institution for people with care needs. And the freeing up of C3 residential is when someone moves into a care home.
Okay. I have no more questions. In which case, may I move to our public speakers? Mr. Michael Stoddard. Sorry, Michael, wrong thing. You've got 3 minutes, and I'll let you know when you have a minute left. That's okay.
Thank you. I'm a William resident and member of the William Community Group, and for my objections, I'd like to refer to the design guidance for residential areas in Letchworth, which was adopted by both the Heritage Foundation and North Arts District Council as supplementary planning guidance from the planning control. And it says, if a building is to be acceptable, some basic principles must be observed. The extension should be designed to respect the original character of the building. I would contend that it doesn't. Number 2, it should not dominate the original building in size or position. It's a highly prominent position. It's a 4-storey flat roof building. It's the only 4-storey flat roof building in the conservation area, indeed in William. All other buildings in William have pitched roofs and adhere to a certain style. Number 3, it should retain, enhance or improve the overall appearance of the property. And the opportunity should, if possible, be taken to remove insensitive additions from the past or later windows and doors which are not in character with the building. It looks like the proposal actually adds some insensitive additions. The Guysfield house is a fine example of a Victorian villa with sash windows. The windows, as you've seen today, are reminiscent of a Soviet municipal building or something similar. Number 4, it should reflect and be sympathetic to the character of the neighbourhood. I would say it's totally unsympathetic and totally out of keeping.
1 minute left.
It goes on to say that the District Council has a responsibility to ensure that any developments within the conservation areas, including extensions or other exterior work, preserve or enhance the special character for which those areas have been designated. In my opinion, and I hope you agree, it really doesn't preserve the special character, and it doesn't enhance the village or the conservation area. And I would humbly request that you throw out the application. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stothard. Are there any points of clarification from members? No? I'm seeing none. Thank you. We'll move on to our second public speaker, Mr. Martin Drake. Mr. Drake, you've got 3 minutes.
Chair, members of the committee, I appreciate the opportunity of presenting my 4 objections to the proposal as set out. First, though, I want to make it clear that I have no objection in principle to the renovation of or even an in-keeping extension of the existing building. My objections are to the design and magnitude of the proposal, its heritage impact, and traffic. The proposed design has little to commend it. It is not in keeping with the existing building, nor with Willian Village, nor with the conservation area generally. This is a hugely important consideration for the village, which predates Letchworth Garden City itself, and which is named in the Domesday Book of 1086. Whilst there has obviously been development since the 15 houses in the village at that time, almost all subsequent development does not present conflicts. The proposed development does. The proposal conjures up images of an open prison, not a care home in a tiny village in the home counties of England. This, despite the suggestion that the proposal is in keeping with the existing building, which was built in 1884 and subsequently extended over 100 years later in 1986. Size. The near doubling in size of the existing, already extended property is patently too large for the site and locale. The design drawings, the depiction of landscaping, and the glossy images should not be seen in isolation. This is a large 4-story building by any measure, but in the context of a conservation area and the historical heritage of the site, it is unacceptable. The heritage impact is enormous and must not be overlooked. North Herts District Council designated Willian a conservation area in 1973. As you know, under the Planning, Listed Buildings and Conservation Areas Act of 1980, local authorities must pay special attention to preserving or enhancing the area's character or appearance.
1 minute.
There is no reasonable case for arguing that the proposed building either preserves or enhances the character or appearance of the area. It does the very opposite. I wholeheartedly support the NHDC Conservation Officer's documented objections to this proposal. Traffic. The newly enlarged facility would result in an increase in traffic entering and leaving the village. Day staff attending the 70-bed facility, patients and visitors, delivery vehicles, doctors, emergency services vehicles. This will not represent just a small increase in daily vehicle movements. Traffic at peak times is already at a level that causes unacceptable noise, pollution, and danger. Any increase in existing traffic movements would exacerbate the problem. In conclusion, I respectfully request the committee to either reject or delay the approval of this application in its present form and require the Planning Directorate to seek a genuinely more sympathetic redevelopment rather than the environmentally damaging total demolition of an existing building and the construction of an eyesore.
Thank you very much. Are there any points of clarification from Mr. Drake? Anyone? No? In which case I'll ask our third public speaker, Mr. Mike Dandy. Mike, you've got 3 minutes.
Good evening, members of the committee, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mike Dandy, and my wife and I have lived at 19 Greenway, which is directly behind Guysfield, for over 35 years. As a background to our objection, the first development in the late 1980s, planning permission was conditional on a line of trees being planted between our house, 17, 18 and 19 Greenway, to protect us, from pollution, namely visual, noise and particulate. The trees are now fully mature and healthy, and they satisfy the requirements to protect all of the houses from pollution. The trees are now approximately 6 meters tall. The proposal by Caring Homes is to fell these healthy, mature trees, which is against the ethos of Letchworth, and replace them with holly trees, which have got a very low growth rate of 10 to 20 centimeters per year, and take many decades to protect from pollution, and we will be under the ground by then. Our objection is that the Caring Homes should not fell the trees. Nothing has changed from the 1980s conditions. The trees are healthy and they protect us against pollution from visual, particulate and noise point of view. And my conclusion and recommendation is that planning permission for the 70-bed nursing home is approved on condition that the existing trees remain during the demolition and construction phase and during the operational phase, to continue to protect the residents of 17, 18 and 19 Greenway from pollution from a visual, particulate and noise point of view. I do have a final slide which shows which I can't put up, which does show the trees as they are at the moment, which gives us a complete screen from Guysfield. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dandy. Do we have any questions, Mr. Dandy? Go on, Councillor Prescott. I just know you couldn't stay quiet this long.
I'm trying to cast my memory back to the tree plan to see if it is in fact necessary to take those trees down, if they're right on the boundary, and it's really, I suppose it's really more a question for the officer, but I'm wondering if it's a perfectly reasonable argument the gentleman's making, and I'm wondering if in fact it is necessary to take that particular row of trees down.
I think it probably is a question. I don't think the officer may wish to pick up at the end, or the applicant may wish to pick it up since they're speaking next. So if that's okay, we'll come back. We'll come back to that. Any other questions for the public speaker? No? Okay, in which case we'll move on. The applicant's agent, Mr. Douglas Bond. Douglas, you have 5 minutes, and I'll let you know when you have a minute left.
Thank you, Chair, members. You'll see from the planning history section of the officer's report that we've been working on this proposal since 2020. During that period, we've been in consultation with your officers, residents, and the Letchworth Garden City Heritage Foundation. The latter focused on the scale and design of the proposal. I'm delighted to confirm that they are supportive of the final scale and design of this new care home. Collectively, this consultation exercise has resulted in improvements, leading to what I have to say is a very comprehensive and positive officer report before you tonight. The proposal relates to an existing care home. You may ask why. The answer is that the existing home is no longer fit for purpose, is of poor quality, does not meet modern day requirements that elderly residents rightly deserve, and is no longer financially viable, making a material loss over the last 5 years. An option to refurbish the existing home to an appropriate quality would result in a home of only 29 bedrooms. That would be too small to be viable. There is therefore an urgent need to redevelop the site. The proposed new home will address all of the current design faults, creating a new high-quality fit-for-purpose care home for residents. As a result, there is one, a significant need to replace the existing care home to address those existing faults. Two, the proposal will secure the existing care home use on the site. Three, a new viable use of Guysfield House, a non-designated heritage asset, will be created. And four, there is an acknowledged need for additional care home beds in this area, to which the additional 20 bedrooms will contribute to. These four need-related points, amongst others, set out in the officer's report, including economic development, increased employment opportunities, and an enhancement to Guysfield House, as I said, a non-designated heritage asset, represents significant public benefits that attract substantial weight in the planning and heritage balances, again, as confirmed in the officer's report. There is a mandatory requirement to weigh these public benefits against any heritage harms. These benefits outweigh the medium level of less than substantial harm identified, given the degree of harm only relates to a small part of the conservation area at its edge and on a site that is already developed, and for the reasons stated, needs to be redeveloped. Accordingly, the proposal is acceptable in heritage terms. The committee report correctly applies the new NPPF grey belt policy, and this proposal passes that. As a result, the replacement scheme is not inappropriate development in the green belt. In terms of the character and appearance of the area, the existing building is visible from the south. The new and improved building steps down in part to 2 stories to reduce its overall bulk and massing, with better landscaping along William Road. With the new screening in place, the visual impacts will be similar to from the south, but with a high-quality design and new landscaping. Officers rightly confirm the proposal has acceptable impacts on the character and appearance of the area. In terms of residential amenities, the proposed care home is on the same northern building line as existing. Will have a similar relationship to existing dwellings to the north. The closest separation distance will be 25 metres to number 17 side elevation and side garden. The main rear elevation and garden to the east lies to the east and therefore away from the proposed home to the south. Number 18 lies further away and is screened by existing mature trees, which will be retained and supplemented by new semi-mature evergreen boundary planting. And as you've just heard, in respect to number 19, we are happy to agree to the retention of existing trees behind this property, a matter that can be addressed through a detailed landscaping condition. The proposal has many benefits and has been carefully thought out and addresses all relevant planning considerations, and again delivers those numerous positive benefits of substantial weight with little or no adverse impact, such that I hope the application can be supported consistent with the officer recommendation for approval. Thank you. I'm happy to take any questions or points of clarification. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bond. Councillor Claire Billing.
Thank you. I just wanted to confirm or clarify what you said about the trees. That Mr. Dandy. Yeah, you're confirming that they will remain.
I said that the trees, the existing belt of trees behind number 19, which are closest to the proposed car parking area, could be retained, yes. But the trees behind numbers 18 and 17, I think we feel perhaps should be removed. But for the reasons I explained, the orientation of number 17, if you look at the aerial photograph perhaps of the site, if it's possible to get that up. So the property due north of the care home, that's number 17. If you look at that, that's an L-shaped property that has its side elevation facing the proposed care home, with its main rear elevation pointing to the right, away from the care home. and therefore the need to retain those existing boundary trees is not, we believe, necessary, albeit there will be replacement evergreen planting proposed along that section of the boundary. Then the property to its immediate left, which is number 18, you'll see some existing mature trees in its garden. Those are to be retained, again supplemented by the proposed new planting, should again ensure that their outlook and amenities are sufficiently protected. Then the following property, number 19, where you can see the sort of a paved footpath through its garden, we are happy to retain those existing trees, which I believe is what the resident for number 19 is seeking to secure. And we've confirmed to him prior to this meeting that that can be our intention. Is that helpful? Good, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Louise Peace.
My question doesn't relate to the trees, so if anybody else has a question that relates to the trees, perhaps they should leapfrog my question.
I hear the applicant or the applicant's agent say that the trees are the elevation of the property at number 17 is at an angle to the trees, but the garden, of course, isn't. And it's very clear that the garden is used. It's not overgrown. I'm wondering the justification for taking the trees down in part is because they're facing the flank wall of a building, but they're facing also a garden. And I think it's wholly appropriate for the residents to actually ask that screening be retained. My question to the applicant's agent is it in fact vitally important that those trees are removed if they're only going to be replaced anyway?
The first point to make is clearly the applicant would not want to sacrifice the loss of those trees over the grant of planning permission. The second point is that at the moment those trees do have quite an oppressive relationship to the existing care home, as well as that residential property. The third point, and I think it's relevant to note, is that the council's conservation area character statement does not identify this belt of trees as a significant area of trees in the conservation area perspective. If there is a way to retain those trees, perhaps through further detailed consideration of that matter via a detailed landscaping condition, then I'm sure the applicant is prepared to pursue that particular point via that condition.
Thank you. I'm going to perhaps ask the officer to think on that one while we continue. Sorry, Councillor Brown, I'm just going to leap in front of you with a question. It is about trees. For the benefit of those of us who visited the site earlier in the week, these trees, are we talking about the Leylandi at the back?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay, no one's arguing, so I assume that we are. Sorry, yeah, it's meaningful glances between people who visited the site and not from others, but yeah, okay. Councillor Bryant.
Thank you. I just want to check that on the presentation we sent by email, the last slide which shows trees, which house number are they? 19. That's 19, is it? Thank you. And one of the comments on the portal suggested that in fact the taller trees actually were lowered slightly so that there wasn't impact on the new residential building, and maybe that's something we can take into account.
Councillor Louise Peace.
Right, I'll change tack away from trees. I wanted to know about the energy usage for the building that will remain and the extension, because there are documents that have been submitted that refer to high efficiency gas boilers. And then there is the officer's report, which says after reduction of the energy demand, the strategy proposes an air source heat pump. So I wasn't quite sure what was being proposed here and whether there were different strategies for the old building and for the new extension. So perhaps you could just explain to us what the strategy is.
What I can say is that the existing building, through its age and I suppose the policies and requirements at the time of its approval and construction, results in a relative sense to a inefficient building in terms of energy use and in terms of insulation, and that this new proposal, consistent with your policies, requires a sustainable design that includes a number of facilities to reduce energy consumption and waste, and therefore the use of air source heat pumps. A better insulated building should result, by comparison to the existing, a much more sustainable building in terms of energy consumption to deliver a more low carbon footprint by comparison to the existing. As to specific facilities within the scheme, there was an energy strategy report prepared and submitted. I think I might be deceiving you if I started to guess those detailed elements, but I can assure you that, and I think the committee report on page 36 highlights a degree of detail confirming that this will be a very sustainable building from a energy and carbon emission perspective, and certainly much, much better than the existing, which is one of the benefits of this proposal.
Thank you. Councillor Fernandez.
Yes, on another tack. Thank you, Chair. If the committee were minded to give permission for this to go ahead, I'd be interested to know what the plans are for the existing residents. Where would they go? Obviously, during the construction phase, they wouldn't be able to live on site, and presumably there are residents currently living there. I wonder how you were going to get around that.
So, ma'am, obviously the applicant is Caring Homes. They are a well-established care home operator, and obviously it's their intention to occupy the new facility. And as a result of that, they have a resident and staff, so it's both, relocation policy. And the first aspect of that is that they will give at least 6 months notice, or minimum 3 months notice to existing residents, and there's no reason why that can't happen in good time, given that, you know, if planning permission gets granted, there'll be some conditions to be discharged, and there's a building program to be instigated. So that they'll have plenty of notice, and that notice period is there to prepare those existing residents to visit alternative care homes, and for that to be in that time to inform those choices. The second is that there will be a relocation coordinator specifically charged to manage the relocation process. The third is that each resident will rightly have a needs assessment carried out, so that we're fully aware of their current needs and the characteristics of their care. And then the fourth point is that the aim is to relocate those residents and staff to an existing caring home, care home. And the closest one is at Orchards Nursing Home in St Albans. So the intention would be to relocate them there. If that doesn't prove to be practical, then there will be formal arrangements put in place to establish places in nearby care homes that aren't within the caring home group, and or any other specialist provider that's required to deal with their specific needs. Then the last point, I suppose, is again the existing staff are all protected, so no one's going to lose their jobs, and they'll be either re-employed within the care home group and then brought back onto the site following the opening of the new home. And ditto with those those relocated residents if they wish to return. So the clues in the name, caring homes intend to care for their existing residents through this process of change.
Thank you. Councillor Clayton.
Thank you, Chair. I note some concerns were raised by the fire service with regards to access for in the case of an emergency and so forth for fire appliances. So I note there's a fire strategy plan as a condition in the proposed grant of planning permission, but I'm just wondering whether you can comment on the applicant's plans to facilitate access for the fire service.
The County Council, as highway authority, have reviewed the plans in terms of fire access, turning arrangements, and have confirmed that the detailed layout plan accommodates those requirements in a satisfactory manner. Hence, there is no objection from that statutory consultee.
Okay. Councillor Bryan.
Similarly, waste and recycling raised concerns. Have you dealt with those?
Yes, there is a private contractor that serves the existing home, and the intention is that that private contractor will continue to service the new home. And again, the layout plans with turning facilities and so forth accommodates that private contractor's vehicles.
Okay. Any further questions? The applicant's agent. No.
So thank you. If there are any points of clarification asked of the officer that requires any further elaboration, I'm more than happy to assist on some of those points too.
Thank you for that. Right, we'll return to the officer to respond to any of the issues we've had. We've certainly had some tree issues raised, but if you'd like to respond to any of the issues that have been raised tonight, Sam.
You know what, I'll stick to trees. So there is a letter on file dated 14th of January, which might be helpful. It explains some of the reasoning as to why the conifers are proposed to be removed and replaced. I'll just try and extract the most relevant parts, other than the conifers being large and difficult to maintain. Conifers are relatively close to the surrounding buildings. Their roots have a potential to impact building foundations. The conifers extract a large amount of moisture from the surrounding soil, meaning it's difficult to grow anything below them. The proposed holly bush is proposed to have an overall planted height of approximately 3 meters and will grow over time. It's proposed that the holly would be more suitable to the location and the vicinity of the buildings. And the holly bushes also provide a vital food source for birds, particularly berries during the winter months. So that's the reasoning as to why there may be some resistance to retaining all of the trees, all of the conifer trees, where it's not considered required for any specific screening or any other issue. So I just thought I'd add that as it's on the file and I've got it in front of me.
And any other issues you wish to?
No other points of clarification for me.
Thank you. Right, so we've heard from the officer. Oh, so I'm so sorry. Councillor Clayton.
Yeah, no, sorry. I'm just wondering whether we could just have a clarification from officers about the status of the supplementary planning guidance that was referred to by one of the speakers, and whether it, what its status is and weight. Thanks.
Okay, so policy D1 of the local plan, part D, says within Letchworth Garden City, have regard to the Letchworth Garden design principles contained within Appendix 5. And Appendix 5 is a page worth of design principles. So it is within a policy within the local plan. There is, I assume, a question as to whether the site is within Letchworth Garden City. It's not within the designated boundary of Letchworth Garden City. It's on the edge and it's in the green belt.
I'm just checking with my legal friend here. I'm allowed to do it, but I believe the applicant's agent has an answer to that. I would ask. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just to assist, I noticed that the resident referred to that design guide being prepared by the council and the Letchworth Garden City Heritage Foundation. As I noted in my address, we've worked extremely hard with the Heritage Foundation and numerous amendments have been made to the design to ensure that they are happy and indeed supportive of the design of the new care home. And I can only assume that they would have had regard to that same SPD document in that consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, we move to debate. Unless the officer wishes to come back at all. No? Okay. Sorry. Okay. The officer's recommendation is to grant permission. Unless members are minded to propose a different recommendation on this item, along with material planning reasons, I shall be proposing that we grant permission. And as ever, I'm going to pause dramatically to allow. Oh, Councillor Prescott.
Don't panic. I was just going to second it.
Okay. You're just getting too quick on the draw. That's the problem. Therefore, I propose that we grant permission subject to the reasons and conditions set out in the report. Can I have... Sorry.
I'm sorry, Chair. Could I propose that we accept the motion with the addition of the condition about retaining the Leylandi tree line, certainly behind number 19?
Yeah, I was assuming that we were going to do that. End up doing. So I was going to say, including any further conditions, but yeah, okay. So have you got the wording of that, Sam? Are we?
I could think on it. I'm sure there's a relatively easy way to adapt a condition to say, notwithstanding the tree plan in respect to the Leylandi trees behind number 19.
Right. So I'm going to propose that we grant permission subject to the reasons and conditions set out in the report and the additional condition that we have just made up. But it'd be worded better than that. No, it's not. But we have just cleverly worded. And may I have a seconder for my badly worded proposal? Sorry.
Do you want to just have the right to see the actual wording and then to approve it as chair?
Yes. Stephen has just added to have. Do you mean during the course of the meeting or subsequent to the meeting? Yeah, that's a good idea. I was hoping to have it by the end of the meeting. The condition of as chair, I get to see and approve the actual wording rather than the ones we were banding along the top table. So, with all those conditions we have just added, may I have a seconder? Councillor Prescott.
I'm not going to second, and the reason why I'm not entirely convinced on the business of the Leylandi, because I think I'm happy with the concept of screening. I mean, I know we're moving into debate and I'm jumping the gun here, but the reason why I wouldn't second with that particular condition as specified is because I think the applicant's agent came back with a form of words that may well achieve what is needed. And I do also appreciate that the Leylandii is not a native species, and in fact there could be a positive gain, even if it meant withstanding a short-term loss of screening, for taking the Leylandii out and putting something more suitable in. And that's why I would not second. I wouldn't want to object. I'd be very happy to vote for it no matter what. But I think we have an opportunity to, and the resident, I think, also has an opportunity to achieve a better outcome, because the applicant's agent certainly seems to be amenable to doing something. So no, I'm not going to second it.
Thank you, I think. Could I also add a health warning that I was the person who said Leylandii, and I am not a tree expert. So I can't, unless somebody in the room is and wants to correct me. But right. Councillor Fernandez.
Can I second the motion, please, Chair, and reserve my right to speak?
You may indeed. So that motion is moved and seconded. We are open to debate. Councillor Mantle.
Yes, I'm unusually agree with Councillor Prescott. I think the less we talk about Leylandii and the fewer Leylandii there are, the better. I think the wording ought to be in such a way that to be agreed or words to that effect, rather than actually specifying a particular variety of tree.
Councillor Prescott.
The obvious typo notwithstanding, in 5.7.3, replaced with native species rather than native spaces, I think it does make, well, I'm assuming that's what it means, unless it's something I really have no idea. I think we've got the potential to have a better solution. This, I think, the point I'm making, and I do entirely appreciate that there are trees that, like Leylandii, which essentially gigantic weeds, and they don't really benefit. I mean, I'm not a tree expert either, but I have a lot of trees in my garden, and I've had this conversation many times. There are plenty of other trees that do benefit nature as well as provide the necessary screening, but they're not mature trees on day one, so it does take a little bit of patience. And I would urge members to think about that. The application itself, I think, is fine, frankly, notwithstanding the design questions. But I think the arguments we've heard are very compelling. But I think to be very specific on the condition on the trees, I think Councillor Mantle, who I've often agreed with, I have to say, I think Councillor Mantle's right. I think we shouldn't be too prescriptive on the trees themselves. None of us, frankly, know what we're talking about in trees, but there are people, I'm sure, that do. So let me leave it at that.
Oh, I should have stayed at home tonight. Right, Councillor Brown.
So on the subject of the trees, I have a lot of sympathy with the resident that wants to maintain the screening. But like my colleagues, I'm not a tree expert, but I believe that Leylandii were a very popular solution in days gone by for a quick fix that then causes more problems later. And so I'm minded to agree with my colleagues that it would be better to have a longer term solution. I understand that that makes it difficult for the resident in the short term. But hearing what the officer read out as well about the native species, the problems with conifers and the benefits of native species, I would actually, I'm minded to go with that too. And then the only other thing I wanted to say is the building does look less in keeping with the current the original building. However, having read the comments of the Heritage Foundation, they obviously have worked with the applicant to come up with a solution that is acceptable, that delivers the number of units that are required. We desperately need more care home spaces. I have some concerns about the interim process that was discussed about St Albans is quite a long way from Letchworth. My own mother is in a care home and she would not, might actually kill some people moving them that far. But, you know, we have to move on, and that this building is not fit for purpose. Presumably, the applicant didn't refer to it, but I would imagine they would, as soon as they know this is going forward, they wouldn't accept new residents. I would imagine. And they've obviously got a plan for managing it. It's not ideal, but we have to live in the realm of the possible, and we have to move on. So I accept that's an issue, and I think I like all the energy efficiency and the passive design aspects of it. And the PV panels, heat pumps, etc. I think that's really good. I noticed BNG is to be provided off site, the 10%, but I think that is acceptable. So I would like to support the proposal, but without the retaining the conifers. Thank you.
Thank you. May I ask Councillor Brown, was that suggesting having no additional condition or changing the additional condition that we discussed 5 minutes ago?
I think it's about changing it to native species or but I think that might be included already in the proposal. I'm not clear about that, but maybe we can have some advice from the officer about how to word this, because I think quite a few of us feel the same about this.
Yep. Councillor Billing.
I just wanted to say that I'm supportive in principle. I don't think there's any planning reason to reject, even though I'm not happy with the design. But if they've worked with the Heritage Foundation, who've agreed with it, then I don't think there's much else that can be said.
Councillor Bryant.
Yes, I agree with Councillor Billing and Councillor Brown, what has been said. It'd be nice to have a roof, but it hasn't got one, and we'll have to live with that. Yes, that. Yeah, so I agree.
Thanks, Val. Councillor Prescott.
I would actually just ask Sam. I think he was kind of beavering away at writing a condition that will satisfy everybody. And as I said, we do seem to have quite a lot of agreement within the room, and certainly from the applicant's agent. We all seem to be working in the same direction. So perhaps we could nail that condition and then move on.
That's satisfying every requirement within the condition. I'll do my best. So the only way I have figured would be a prior to commencement submission of further soft landscaping detail, notwithstanding what's been submitted. But the only way I can secure the existing planting behind number 19 is to just put a sentence in stating that the soft landscaping and planting plan to be submitted should retain the existing Lawson cypress trees within Group 29 to the rear of number 19 Greenway. If it was anything else, we'd just be approving the planting plan that's been submitted, because holly trees are native.
And could you remind us what the existing condition is?
Oh, sorry, the existing
condition in the one that about protecting native. We've got the.
Oh,
do we have exact wording?
I've been adapting condition number 8, which is the soft landscaping condition that just secures the approved soft landscaping being carried out before the end of the planting season. So I've just adapted that to, notwithstanding the submitted soft landscaping details, a further soft landscaping and planting plan shall be submitted prior to commencement, with a sentence within the condition that protects or sets out that the further soft landscaping and planting plan should retain the licensed cypress trees in Group 29 to the rear of number 19.
Okay. I'm looking for affirmation from the committee. Does that sound what we want? Councillor Prescott.
Could we, I think we're very nearly there, but could we recognise the fact that one of the objectives of the soft landscaping plan is to ultimately, if not on day one, but ultimately to achieve a level of screening which the residents enjoy at the moment, albeit with different set of trees?
I think what I'm imagining as a result of this condition is exactly the same soft landscaping plan showing the Lawson cypress trees to be retained. And then beyond that, across number 18 and 17, would be the 3 metre tall mature planting holly trees that are already proposed, which already provide what I feel is quite good screening from day one and will grow at a rate of approximately 20 centimetres in height per year.
So I'm going to ask Stephen, rather than talking directly to me, to explain to the committee what his concern is and indeed what his solution is.
Members, the concern that I want to highlight to you is, notwithstanding that you might come up with wording which the officer is recommending to you for approval, you could find that it is then open to the applicant to make an application to vary or strike out the condition that you're actually suggesting would make this acceptable in planning terms to you. My proposal, therefore, is to invite the applicant to advise you whether they would be willing to enter into a unilateral undertaking to deliver a scheme of landscaping that would be acceptable to number 19, and which would then give you the very comfort that I think you're looking for. So I've got to highlight the risk that you might grant planning permission with a condition and then find that actually, notwithstanding that you thought you were securing something, the applicant then says, actually, you went a step too far, and I'm going to apply to strike out or vary that condition and make it more acceptable in terms that suit the applicant. So I'm just highlighting that as a risk and advising you that the applicant may well say, if it's a unilateral undertaking, I'm sure that the applicant, in order to deliver a permission which everybody seems happy to run with, would then give comfort to all parties that they know what they were delivering in terms of the grant of this planning permission. So I'm going to invite the applicant to say whether that would be something that they'd be willing to put to their client and whether they feel that that would be acceptable.
Mr. Bond, you were waiting.
Thank you very much, Chair. If I could just make a couple of points. Firstly, one, this is clearly a public meeting. Two, it's been recorded. Three, I hope it was very clear when addressing the committee on behalf of the applicant that I made it clear that we will be prepared to retain the trees at the rear of number 19. That's on public record. The fourth point is that stemmed from a conversation between the applicant, Caring Homes, including the construction manager, and the owner of number 19. So I'm effectively, in a public forum, reinforcing that commitment. And therefore, I cannot conceive any circumstance why we would challenge a variation of a condition and therefore the need for that unilateral undertaking really shouldn't be necessary as a sledgehammer to crack a nut. Now, having said all of that, you are the decision-making authority, not me. And if I hear what you say, Mr. Bond, that's not sufficient comfort, etc., etc., we still wish to proceed via a unilateral. But for the reasons I've explained, again, in a public forum, that really shouldn't be necessary. And if the committee, through your officer, wishes to see an exchange of letters between the resident and the applicant reinforcing that commitment in writing, I'm sure your solicitor, legal friend will say that's not worth the paper it's written on. But I always advise my clients that, one, it's important to work with the local authority, and we've done that for the last 5 years. And secondly, unlike any other, say, normal residential scheme, a care home is operated and managed by the operator and always has to bear in mind it has neighbours, and we wish to retain good relationships with those neighbours. So we've spoken, I've made a public commitment. If we were to go back on that, that wouldn't be very good from a public relations perspective, or the relationships with our most immediate neighbours. Thank you.
I think it is helpful for the agent to have confirmed that commitment and made reference to the public meeting. In those circumstances, my view is that whilst from a legal perspective, a unilateral undertaking offers greater certainty, if the client of the agent were to go back on the commitment made in this public forum, we would then seek to bring that forward in actually refusing to accept any variation which undermine the whole purpose of the condition. And in those circumstances, I think that if it went to an appeal in terms of the condition being challenged, a planning inspector would have to regard to the public commitment that's been given. So legal advice is the unilateral undertaking offers greater legal certainty, but I think it is open to you to go, leave the lawyers to one side and let's take people at their word.
That's the first time I've ever heard a lawyer say, leave the lawyers to one side. So a night of firsts. I just want to check whether, before I do the next bit, I just want to check whether the committee will be. So do we still wish to have an additional condition? Not the one we started with, the one that Sam said, or are we happy as the conditions stand? I've got Louise and then Martin, sorry.
Can I just make another point before we think about that, which is we've heard from the resident at number 19 tonight. I'm just looking at the objection on the portal from the residents at number 17, who also object to removal of the trees labelled G29 and say we would not support approval for removal of these trees and would suggest any planning consent requires the retention of these trees or replacement with mature trees of the same height. I'm just a bit concerned that we are treating residents differently here because one of them is in the room and one of them is not.
I would make an, I'm not sure you get an alternative mature tree at that height, but but yes, the point is well made. Councillor Prescott.
Thank you. That was precisely the point I was going to make. If the resident we have here is from number 19, that's fine and welcome. But there are also 2 other properties that are directly affected by this that were referred, in fairness, in the gentleman's presentation. And I actually think we're all singing off the same hymn sheet at the moment. The applicant's agent seems to be very amenable to doing what we've asked. The conditions all seem to be okay as they are written. And we've had very many assurances from the applicant's agent in a public forum with potentially 6 billion people watching us. So I think we're there or thereabouts. I think we can move on the trees, gentlemen, ladies. Yeah, I think so.
My answer. Stephen, sorry.
I was just going to say that we have suggested that any final wording should be subject to your approval. So I'd like to think that the case officer will actually consult those residents who aren't here this evening to make sure that they're comfortable with the wording that you'll be asked to approve.
My only concern on that is which is why I asked the question: are we seeking an additional condition? Because if we're not, I've got nothing to approve.
That was very similar to the point that I was going to ask, because at the moment my condition specifically refers to number 19. So if it needs to be expanded, then I need to change the condition. Or if the condition doesn't need to be changed at all and we're just going in accordance with the landscape plan that has been submitted, then there's no need for the condition to be changed.
Thanks, Sam. Councillor Billing.
I would really like to move on from trees. Can't it be in consultation with the residents at 17, 18 and 19 Greenway?
The discharge of condition, no, not really. It's not a matter. It's a matter that's on public record, and if the residents of those properties were on our planning portal and registered to receive details of any applications that are received in respect to the site, they will be automatically notified of it, but they wouldn't be given written consultation of the details, and they are free to write in and make comments on that, even though it's not open for comments at any time. But it would be a matter between us and the applicant to discharge. The wording of the condition, did you mention, sorry, Stephen, do you want to, in respect to the consultation, do you want to add, because you mentioned that we would consult the neighbours as to the wording of the condition, not the condition itself, not the details, I assume. Yeah. Yeah. So we could notify the neighbours well, it would have to be very promptly after the meeting and ask them their opinion on the condition. That would be number 17, number 18 and number 19, I assume. But then once the details are submitted, that would be between us and the applicant.
And just to clarify, are you talking about the condition as in the report and the supplementaries, rather than what we discussed tonight?
Sorry, I mean what we're discussing tonight. If we're discussing to make any changes to the condition and we want the input of number 18 and number 17, we would have to inform them of the condition in advance of the permission itself being issued.
Okay, because I think I might be wrong, but I thought what I heard from the committee was reverting to the proposals as it originally stood, which is subject to conditions set out in the report and included in the supplementary update, but not to make any additional ones. I'm looking for nods or shakes or something on the front row. Councillor Prescott, help me here.
I'd be concerned that we're giving the impression that whatever decision we take here tonight is going to be subject to 3 local residents deciding they don't like it. We can't do that. We can't do that to the residents or to the applicant, in fairness. I'm quite happy if there is any concern about the existing condition as relating to the trees, that we give Sam discretion to make minor modifications in consultation with everybody. But I would not want that to hold up granting permission, because I think it's very much a minor point in the grand scheme of things. Personally, I think the application as it stands pretty much answers all the questions.
So this is what I'm going to bear with me on this one. I'm conscious we have a proposal from myself, seconded by Councillor Fernandez, which was as written, but with an additional proposal. So first of all, if I'm able to do it, I'm going to, with Councillor Fernandez's agreement, I'm going to withdraw that proposal. Yeah. I now propose that we grant permission subject to the reasons and conditions set out in the report, included in the supplementary update. Does that cover everything? Is there a seconder of that proposal? Councillor Preston, sorry.
Yeah, I'm happy to second as stated.
Right. and reserve your right. Right, I'm not seeing any other. No one's jumping to say anything. Am I okay to move to a vote at this point? Sam? Speak now, forever hold your peace, as they say. Right, in which case, could I see all those in favour of that proposal? Oops. We can, sorry, we're gonna retake. Oh no, it's fine. Because I nearly didn't manage to vote because we were sourcing and we had to twice be carried away and vote.
That motion's carried.
Sorry, Tom, I'm not that remember. I'm not that good. Okay. Thank you. We got there. Can I thank the members of public who joined us for this debate? We will pause very briefly to allow people to leave and a 5-minute comfort break. Not like last week. This is 5 minutes, all right. Okay, let's crack on. I think that was a 5-minute comfort break, 5 minutes for us to get the toffees out of our mouths. Thank you very much, Councillor Bryant. So, item 7, application 24014444FP, land between Huntsbridge and Ashwell House, 5 High Street, Ashwell. Sam DeCoker to present. Sam.
Thank you, Chair. So I've got a little introduction here written by Alex and one representation that I'll have to read out, so please bear with me. So, following the publication of the report, a written update has been circulated to members of the committee covering matters related to amended wording and omission of proposed conditions, clarity and amended condition wording covering the method of archaeological evaluation at the site following correspondence with the County Council and North Hertfordshire Archaeological Society, and modest amendments to the heads of terms following correspondence with County Council's growth and infrastructure teams. Following, this afternoon, I got an email from Hertfordshire County Council's Countrysides and Right of Way team. They mentioned that some comments that they made on the 19th of August 2024, it says here, whether that's a typo or not, I'm not sure. I think it might be August 2025, but they haven't been recorded on our website and they haven't been included in the officer report, so I will read them verbatim, the original comments here. The proposed access through the site between Lucas Lane and Ashwell Street should be improved so that access is available for cyclists and pedestrians. Additionally, the section of Ashwell Street leading up to the entrance of the development from the west should be upgraded to usual highways standard, with a hard sealed surface being provided as well as pedestrian walkway to help improve the safety and increased amount of pedestrian traffic that is likely to result from the development. During any development works, the safety of the public must be paramount. If any works will present safety risks to the public on the right of way, that will require the route to be closed. A temporary traffic regulation order must be applied for and granted before any closure can take place. A discussion should be had with Hertfordshire County Council's Rights of Way and Highways team about the access through the site and the road surface leading up to it, as well as to consider options for reducing the likelihood that the right of way will suffer from increased vehicular traffic. The right of way is intended as a rural route with occasional vehicular use and is not constructed nor maintained to a standard that can accommodate increased vehicular traffic. That's the Hertfordshire County Council Rights of Way officer comments, just to make sure everything's covered. If we could start the presentation, please. The application we're considering tonight is 14 dwellings with access from Ashwell Street and a footpath link to Lucas Lane. The application follows an allowed appeal for 14 dwellings on the site following the refusal by the council. Next slide, please. Oh, no, that's the right slide. If we can stay on that, please. The site lies within Ashwell Conservation Area and within the settlement of Ashwell as designated by the local plan. Next slide, please. Get to my right part. This is a screenshot from Google Maps showing the existing site in the context of Ashwell. Next slide, please. So this is a photo looking east from Ashwell Street in front of Huntsbridge, the neighbouring property to the west of the site. Next slide, please. This is a photo looking east from Ashwell Street. No, sorry. This is a photo of the existing gate on Ashwell Street. This also shows existing landscape on the boundary with Ashwell Street. Next slide, please. This is a photo from the field gate looking north into the site, which is significant view. One second. Could we go back to the last slide, please? Oh, that's fine. Yeah, next slide. Okay, next slide, please. Okay. This is a photo from just within the field gate looking east. Next slide, please. This is a photo from Ashwell Street looking back towards the field gate and Huntsridge. This is another photo from Ashwell Street looking north within to the site. Next slide, please. This is a photo from the southeast corner of the site looking north towards the boundary with existing properties on Lucas Lane. That's the Lucas Lane slide. Next slide, please. This is an extract from the submitted landscape visual impact assessment showing several views from within and outside of the site. It's another extract from the LVIA landscape visual impact assessment showing the existing views with commentary. This is a photo from the Ashwell Recreation Ground looking south towards the site, which is in the background of the white rendered property. Next slide. This is an image of the existing situation on Lucas Lane. The area of vegetation in the centre of the photo is where the proposed pedestrian link to Lucas Lane is proposed. This is also an extract from the LVIA showing existing and proposed wireframe images from the field gate on Ashwell Street. This is just a hold on this slide. This shows shows quite clearly the previously described significant view 12. Next slide, please. This is another existing and proposed wireframe image from the Ashwell Recreation Ground. So we're moving on to the plans now. Forgive me, there's quite a few of them because it's a detailed planning consent. This is a site location plan. Next slide, please. So this is the proposed site plan showing an area of open space to the west of the site. Next slide, please. This is a site context plan. And this is a proposed house size plan. So the dark blue, let me get it up on my screen so I can help you out because the writing is very, very small there. So the dark blue is 4 bedrooms, the medium blue is 3 bedrooms, and the light blue is 2 bedrooms. Next slide, please. This is the proposed inclusivity plan, which for clarity shows visitable dwellings, M41 standard, accessible and adaptable dwellings, M42 standard, and wheelchair usable adaptable dwellings. Next slide, please. Here we have the proposed tenure plan. So the light blue are private sale homes. There are 10 of them. And the pink are affordable homes. There are 4 of them. Next slide. So we've got the proposed surfaces plan. Next slide, please. Proposed materials and boundaries plan. Next slide, please. It's a waste collection plan. Next slide. We've got the proposed parking plan. Next slide, please. Here we have the landscape strategy plan. Next slide, please. Is the Ashwell access plan. I'll just pause here. It's probably quite key to note that the access as proposed in this application is the same as the access allowed at appeal. So there is no difference in the access between what's already been given consent and what we're looking here. Next slide, please. This is the tracking plan showing the accessibility to vehicles of sufficient size for waste collection purposes. And here we go on to the elevations. So I'll just do the plots. So that's two of the elevations for plots 1 and 2. Next slide. And the other elevations for plots 1 and 2. Next slide, please. Floor plans for plot 1. Floor plans for plot 2. Next slide. Here we have the proposed elevations for plot 3 and 5. Next slide, please. Same plot 3 and 5, but different elevations. Next slide. So floor plans for plot 3. Next slide. And the floor plans for plot 4 and 5. Here we have the elevations for plots 6 and 7. And the floor plans for plots 6 and 7. As plots 8 and 9 elevations. And the other plots 8 and 9 elevations. Next slide, please. Floor plans for plot 8. Next slide. And floor plans for plot 9. We can go to the next. This is plots 10 to 12 proposed elevations. And again, plots 10 to 12 from different elevations. Next slide. That's the proposed floor plans for plot 10. And the proposed floor plans for plot 11. And the proposed floor plans for plot 12. And these are the proposed elevations for plots 13 and 14. If we can hold there, it's worth noting that these are the plots to the north of the site, on the north west of the site, within significant view 12. Next slide, please. And elevations of the same plots. Floor plans for plot 13. Next slide. Floor plans for plot 14. And these are illustrative street sections. Obviously, within this slide, you can see the natural topography of the site, which slopes down from south to north. So north at the edge of the settlement and south towards Lucas Lane. So it slopes downwards from Ashwell Street towards the back of Lucas Lane. And that's the end of the slides. The recommendation is to grant planning permission subject to agreement to an subject to a legal agreement in line with the heads of terms expressed, an extension in time and conditions as per the committee report and written update. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Points of clarification from the officer. Councillor Billing.
Yeah, you mentioned about the affordable homes, and I just wondered, A, what bedroom sizes are they? And B, what was the accessibility for them?
Apologies, Councillor Billing. I've just noted an error in my presentation. Is it okay to go back some slides?
Of course it is.
Thank you. This is why I don't like presenting other people's items. Can we go back to elevations of plots 1 and 2? Next one. Yeah, there we go. So, because there's the allowed appeal and the proposed site, I got my plot numbers mixed up. So when I paused at plot numbers 13 and 14 and said those are the plots within the view corridor 12, that was incorrect. These are the two properties on the northwest of the site that we see in key viewpoint 12. Apologies for that. Sorry, Councillor Billen. Could you repeat the question, please? I was in a panic.
Thanks, Sam.
Yeah, no, it was about the affordable houses, the bedroom sizes, because it looked like there were a couple of twos and something else that I couldn't quite work out. And also the whether they're accessible or wheelchair friendly or whatever.
Of course, I'll take it one at a time. So there's a 2-bed bungalow and a 3-bed bungalow and two 2-bed 2-story houses. In terms of accessibility, let me just get the inclusivity plan up. Make sure I've got the right one. Okay. So the 3-bedroom bungalow is accessible and adaptable dwelling to M42 standards. The 2-bed bungalow, the affordable bungalow, is wheelchair usable adaptable dwelling, so that's M43. And the 2-bed houses are visitable dwellings, M41.
Thank you. Does that answer your question? Yeah, thank you. Councillor Tom Tyson.
Thanks, Sam. And just to be clear, I'm the ward member for this area. So I had two questions, the second of which I've forgotten. The first one was just to apologise and say, when you were mentioning the note from the Rights of Way team, I didn't quite catch what you were saying about the stretch of the track, the Rudbury, heading eastwards from the site towards Station Road and back, which was the second part of it.
I'll read it again for you. So it says, additionally, the section of Ashwell Street leading up to the entrance of the development from the west should be upgraded to highway standard, with a hard sealed surface being provided, as well as a pedestrian walkway to help improve safety for the increased amount of pedestrian traffic that is likely to result from the development. So I believe that's from the west.
So there was no comment on the stretch down to thereafter, down onwards to Station Road?
No mention of Station
Okay, thank
Road,
you.
no.
The second question was whether you wanted to mention the public open space.
Yeah.
That's on the plans.
Was there any particular comment about the public open space?
The question was about the management of it if this was approved.
I thought I read that it was down to them to decide whether they wanted to adopt it.
Okay, I can see that paragraph now. 41, yeah.
Tom. Councillor John Clayton. John.
Thank you, Chair. In paragraph 4.332, it says the provision of 4 dwellings at M42 standard is an under provision to that required by policy HS5, which requires 50% 7 dwellings. But it also says on balance this under provision is considered acceptable. I just wonder if you can clarify why we consider that acceptable.
It appears to me on reading of that paragraph that the officer feels it acceptable because of the delivery of the 2 dwellings at M43 standard, which is a higher standard of accessibility. which does comply with policy HS5, but that's only compliant with policy HS5. It's not an exceedance. So I believe the officer may be speaking on balance, it being considered acceptable with all other material considerations rather than in of itself in terms of policy requirement.
Well, okay, and I get that, but even if we take the two together, that's still 6 against a policy requirement for 7, right? So, I mean, if we have the policy, why are we not sticking to it?
We've got to balance all policy considerations. It may be that some proposed developments don't comply with all of our policies and all of our requirements, but the benefits outweigh the harms taken on the whole.
Martin, Councillor Prescott.
You can call me Martin, that's fine. Thank you. I have 2 questions. One is, I note in the objectors, or certainly in the public comments, one item came up over and over again, which is the actual boundaries of the development site itself. Has that now been clarified? Is everybody happy that we're working to the correct boundaries? And secondly, while I note the highways requirement and conditions that the improvements be made to Ashwell Lane Road, the muddy track that you showed us in your pictures, I accept that that would be better, obviously, but are we comfortable at losing the character of that track? It strikes me as a charming little bit of rural byway. Do we really happy that we want to lose that?
I'll answer the second question first because it's slightly easier. It's already got planning permission through the allowed appeal, so it's difficult now to say that it's unacceptable for any particular reason, because the applicant could carry it out as soon as they comply with the conditions on the previous permission. It's as it was and as it's been approved, I'm afraid. So I'm just reviewing the neighbour comments now. Sorry, I can't see anything on the on our case officer's summary of written representations about the issues with the site location plan.
They're on the portal.
That's fine.
It's virtually every comment states that the boundaries are wrong. They have they been? My question is, have they been corrected?
As I'm not the case officer, I will rely on Alex as having resolved any issues in respect to the site location plan, and I would also expect the site location plan to be the same as on the previous appeal, which was again allowed.
Thank you.
Councillor Ruth Brown.
I was going to ask the same question as Councillor Tyson about open space. There is a paragraph on it at 4.3.41, but it's a bit vague. It says that the parish council usually undertake their own maintenance, and therefore the district wouldn't adopt it. Do we know that the parish council are willing to do that? It says the agreement's still to be agreed, but do we have any certainty around their offer in terms of maintaining it? Because I think that's quite important. The open space actually exceeds the requirements, doesn't it, in terms of the size of it, which is welcome, but it does need managing.
So the latest letter that we've had from Ashwell Parish Council is that they will Parish Council will discuss whether to apply for the management rights over the public space at the next Parish Council meeting. Assuming a decision is taken at that meeting, we will advise you of the decision following that meeting. So they would have, if they come back and say they would like to manage it, that would be our preference.
Okay, I've got another question. Okay, so there's no certainty over it, but they're willing to discuss it. The other question I had was around the energy efficiency and design of the homes. I can't see anything around any PV panels or heat pumps. Can you talk about the energy efficiency and design of the homes?
I can. I'd have to find the energy strategy or any conditions that relate to it. In respect to solar panels, I fear they wouldn't fit with the design. Going for a clearly agricultural design, usually wouldn't have solar panels on them. Air source heat pumps, I'll have a look and get back to you as soon as I can.
Okay. Councillor Clayton.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not clear whether we have a representative of the applicant this evening. No, we don't. Okay. I'm just trying to understand, given that the appeal was allowed for the previous application, and the number of houses, as I understand it, is being kept the same, what the motivation is or what the reason is that we have another application. Why are they not just going with the one they've already got? I don't know whether you can shed any light on that.
It's complicated. Bam.
That is. So when the application was refused by the council, the applicant came back for pre-application advice. We engaged, sought improvements to the layout and design. Following that pre-application advice, the applicant submitted the appeal and submitted the application at the same time. The appeal's since been won, or since been allowed, I should say, and they're still progressing this particular application. The differences that I can see are the layout, the design, the scale, and also there's, I believe, one less affordable dwelling on this proposal than the previous proposal. So I wouldn't want to speculate, but those are the differences.
Okay. Any further question, points of clarification to the officer? Stephen.
Chair, just to address the point made by Councillor Prescott, it would have been open to anyone to have challenged the permission granted on appeal in relation to the boundaries. As far as I'm aware, they haven't done so. So I think that is a material factor.
Ruth.
Can I just ask then, given that the appeal's been allowed, if we approve this application tonight, does the applicant then have a choice which one they build?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's no guarantee they'll build this one, they might build the other one. Okay.
I think to the question I was asking about with the applicant, I think the applicant do have representatives here, but they're not registered as speakers. Is that correct? Yeah, there you go. I wouldn't wish to mislead anyone. Councillor Tom Tyson. Tom.
Yeah, just on that question about the red line boundary, I believe that there was a concession that there was an incorrect marking of that boundary, but that was picked up at the appeal by and corrected unusually by the inspector during the appeal process. And that I believe that this application reflects that change as well. And I don't know, I'll be correct if I'm wrong, but I see some nods from people behind me, so I think that's
Thank you.
much
That's really
what I
helpful.
consider.
Thank you. Any other questions or points of clarification for the officer? No. Okay. In which case, the officer's recommendation is to grant permission. Unless members are minded to propose a different recommendation on this item, along with material planning reasons, I shall be proposing that we grant permission. Councillor Brown.
I'm happy to second that proposal and I reserve my right to speak.
Thank you. You beat me to it. I didn't even say what I was going to do yet. You're going to Okay, therefore I propose that we grant permission subject to the following. A, the completion of a suitable legal agreement in line with the agreed heads of terms. B, an agreement to an extension of time to the statutory determination date to allow for A to occur. And C, the conditions and informatives set out in the report. Sorry, Sam.
And the written update.
And the written update. Thank you, Sam. May I have seconder? You beat me to. You were just ahead of the game. That was all.
I've already seconded. Thank you.
I think traditionally the seconder has to come after the proposer, but I'm just old-fashioned in these things. I'm teasing, Councillor Brown. Right, we have a proposer and a seconder. Do we have any debate? Right. Sorry, Councillor Brown.
I mean, it seems to me that a very similar scheme has already been allowed at appeal, so there isn't any merit in trying. Well, there's no reasonable grounds to refuse it. But I think in some ways there are some things that are better about this proposal. I think so that in some ways the layout is better because they've taken that pre-app advice. It's regrettable that there's one less affordable unit. It's regrettable that there's not more in terms of energy efficiency and passive design and that kind of thing. But overall, I think we don't really have grounds to refuse it, and it's certainly no worse than the previous scheme, and probably better.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Brown. If there are no other comments, and I'm not seeing any other comments, we will move to the vote. Could I see those in favour of accepting the proposition? Nearly forgot to vote myself.
That motion's carried.
Thank you very much. Item 8 is appeals. Sam to present. Sam to present.
No new appeals have been lodged. There is one appeal decision on the report household application that was dismissed on design grounds.
Any questions for Sam on appeals? Councillor Prescott.
I have a question. Why has Sam been lumbered into doing these reports himself tonight?
Glad you asked. Paul's in America celebrating his 40th birthday, and Alex is in Madeira at a wedding. So they're all having lovely times.
Right. The appeals report is for noting. We've duly noted that. Then I will close the meeting. Thanking all the officers, Sam in particular, for their assistance tonight. Thank you very much. I'll see you at the next one, which is soon.